Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe and hit the bell icon for new updates.
He was the king of custom cars, the Michelangelo of metal and chrome. Boyd Coddington wasn't just building hot rods. He was shaping American dreams on four wheels. But what happens when the apprentice becomes a master and walks away? This is a story of genius, ambition, and betrayal. A rift so deep, it split the world of hot rods in two. You're watching Limelight Leaks, and this is a hidden war between Boyd Coddington and Chip Foose, the master, and the student who shocked an empire. It started with fire and passion, a garage, a dream, and bare hands on cold steel. Boyd Coddington had a vision, a new era of hot rods. Sleek, elegant, timeless. He turned grease and grit into gold. With every car, he wasn't just building bodies. He was building legends. And one day, a young, bright-eyed designer walked through his door. His name was Chip Foose. Chip had talent, rare talent. He wasn't just sketching cars. He was seeing their souls. Boyd saw it. He knew what he had. A diamond, waiting to be shaped. So he took Chip under his wing, gave him space, gave him freedom. And together, they created rolling art that stunned the world. The Cadzilla, the Boydster, machines that didn't just win awards, they changed the game. But behind the polished chrome and glimmering paint, something else was taking shape. A quiet tension, a difference in vision, maybe even ego. Boyd was the face, the brand, the boss. Chip, he was a pencil behind the masterpieces, but always in the shadows. And shadows don't last forever. In 1998, the split happened. Sudden, sharp, and silent. No interviews. No fireworks. Just a whisper through the industry. Chip Foose had left Boyd Coddington. But it wasn't just a resignation. It was the beginning of a war. Boyd felt it. The betrayal. Like a son walking out on his father. Like a brushstroke walking off the canvas. And worse, Chip didn't just leave. He rose. In 2000, he founded Foose Design, a one-man rebellion. And in just a few years, he exploded. Discovery Channel came knocking. Overhaulin was born. And suddenly, Chip Foose was everywhere. Television, awards, SEMA. Chip wasn't in the shadows anymore. He was the light. But Boyd, he watched from the sidelines. His own empire, once towering, now shook with debt and decline. His shop filed for bankruptcy. Twice. Some blamed poor business. Others blamed the changing times. But many whispered one name, Foose. The student had become the master, and the master was losing everything. And yet, in the quiet behind the scenes, Chip never threw stones. He spoke of Boyd with respect, called him a mentor, a father figure. But the pain? It stayed. Because this wasn't just business. This wasn't just cars. This was family. And family doesn't forget. In 2008, the engines went silent. Boyd Coddington, the man who revolutionized hot rods, the master craftsman whose very name echoed to the halls of custom car history, was gone. Complications from surgery, they said. But to those who knew him, those who followed him, who admired his unrelenting perfectionism, his genius, and his fire, it felt like the end of an era. He was only 63. Gone too soon. The world of custom cars didn't just pause. It grieved. Shops dimmed their lights. Wrenches lay still. And for a moment, even the roar of V8S felt like a whisper. Because Boyd Coddington wasn't just a builder. He was a builder, a legend, a pioneer, a man who didn't just bend metal. He bent time, shaping yesterday's classics into tomorrow's icons. And yet, in the shadow of that loss, there was another name that people couldn't ignore. Chip Foose, the protege, the rebel, the one who walked away. As tributes poured in, interviews ran, and fans recalled Boyd's unmatched legacy, Chip stayed quiet. No headline, no spotlight, just silence. Respectful, still, reverent, because deep down, Chip knew something the world sometimes forgets. Without Boyd, there would be no Foose. Without the master, there would be no student. But that didn't erase the past. It didn't undo the years of conflict, the tension, The unspoken disappointment between two men who once created magic together. Their story wasn't just about hot rods. It was about creation and control, respect and resentment, love and heartbreak. Two artists, two visions, one legacy, divided. But maybe, in the end, it was never betrayal. Maybe it was fate. Chip had always admired Boyd. From day one. From the first spark, the first sketch, the first card drawn from imagination into reality. Chip had believed in the man. He worked long nights, pushed his limits, gave everything he had to the dream Boyd was building. And Boyd saw it. For years, he nurtured that talent. He gave Chip space to shine, but only just enough. Because Boyd Coddington was a giant, and giants cast long shadows. Chip began to feel it. That shadow, that ceiling. He wanted more. Not money, not fame, just freedom, creative freedom, autonomy, the chance to create his way. But when you leave the man who made you, when you step away from a house that raised you, it never comes clean. People whispered. Foose turned his back. Boyd made him. He owed him everything. They said it behind closed doors, at car shows, at award nights. But only Chip knew what it cost. Starting Foose Design wasn't a declaration of war. It was survival. It was growth. The need to build, not just for someone else, but from within. And when Overhaulin launched in 2004, everything changed. Millions watched as Chip transformed rust into art. Families cried. Fans cheered. And a new generation saw custom cars not as relics, but as miracles. He was a star. Boyd? He was struggling. The empire he'd built, the Boyd Coddington garage, was cracking. Financial strain, legal troubles, layoffs. The magic was fading. Two titans now on opposite paths. And yet, Chip never gloated, never fired back. Because despite everything, a part of him still owed Boyd a debt he could never repay. He had learned not just how to shape steel, but how to chase greatness. And greatness comes at a price. When Boyd died, there were no final words exchanged between them. No dramatic reunion. No Hollywood moment of closure. Just silence. And maybe in some way, that silence was a closure. Maybe it was enough to honor the past without rewriting it. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to someone who shaped your life is nothing at all. Let the work speak. Let the legacy live. Today, you can still see their fingerprints on every car show, every restomod, every dream garage built from scratch. You see it in the flawless lines of a Foose coupe, in the timeless swagger of a Boyd roadster. You feel in the way custom culture refuses to die, refuses to be factory made. Their rivalry created a ripple that became a wave, a movement, and yet it wasn't hate. It was fire, a shared fire, one that burned hot and left scars, but also lit the way. Chip Foose and Boyd Coddington weren't enemies. Not really. That's what the headlines wanted you to believe. A dramatic fallout, a betrayal, a silent war between two titans of custom cars. But the truth? It runs deeper. They weren't enemies. They were mirrors, reflections of each other's brilliance and each other's blind spots. Boyd was the hammer, the fire, the relentless drive to make machines immaculate, perfect, untouchable. Chip was a pencil, the dreamer, the quiet force who didn't just shape cars. He felt them, gave them soul. Boyd taught the world how to perfect the past. Polished aluminum, shaved door handles. Clean lines that felt like they belonged in a museum, but moved like a bullet. Chip showed how to reinvent it. Bold new concepts. Soft, sweeping curves. A respect for tradition, but a hunger to break free from it. Two artists, two visions, both right, both wrong, divided by pride, reunited in legacy. And maybe, just maybe, that's the beauty of it all. Because the student didn't betray the master. He fulfilled the prophecy. Boyd didn't raise a copy. He raised a successor. And sometimes the only way to honor the teacher is to outgrow him, to stand on your own, to step into the storm, knowing you might lose everything, to build your own road, even if you have to drive through fire to do it. That road was never easy. Foose design began small. Just Chip, a few trusted hands, a dream, scribbled in the margins of old sketchbooks. But from those sketches came something bigger, a movement. He took everything he had learned under Boyd, the craftsmanship, the discipline, the eye for timeless detail, and added his own soul. More color, more emotion, more story. Where Boyd's cars were bold and commanding, Chip's were warm and cinematic. Boyd built monuments. Chip built memories. And slowly, the world took notice. SEMA. Riddler Awards. Television. Millions watched Overhaulin, not just for the cars, but for Chip's quiet, patient heart, his love for people, his ability to make forgotten machines feel like family again. And somewhere out there, in the static of late-night television and glowing screens, Boyd saw it. He had to see it. The boy he once mentored, now inspiring a generation. The fire he once lit, now roaring out his control. And yet, in all those years, neither man publicly attacked the other. There were no cheap shots, no ugly interviews, no public feuds, because deep down they knew this wasn't a fight. This was fate. They were meant to split, meant to clash, meant to build separate chapters of the same book. And when Boyd passed away in 2008, that book closed. Too soon, too suddenly. No final conversation. No reconciliation. Just silence. But sometimes silence says more than words ever could. Chip didn't go on camera. He didn't do a tribute tour. He didn't cry for the press. Instead, he kept building. Car after car. Line after line. As if every curve, every engine note was a thank you whispered into steel. Because what Boyd gave him wasn't just a career. It was a code, a way of life, a commitment to the craft. And Chip carried it, even when it was heavy, even when it hurt, even when the world tried to turn them into enemies. Because in the end, they weren't rivals. They were architects of a dream bigger than either of them. A dream that roared down highways, sat proud at car shows, lived in the hearts of builders, painters, designers, who grew up watching both. And today, if you stand in a garage, lights low, engine humming, or if you sit behind the wheel of a machine that doesn't just run, but lives, you can still feel them both. Boyd, Chip, not divided, not forgotten, but eternal. Two sides of the same spark. One forged it, the other carried it. And maybe that's how legends really live on. Not in statues, not in documentaries, but in the rumble of tires on pavement, in the shimmer of chrome in sunset light, in the hands of the next kid sketching a dream on a napkin, hoping one day to be just like them. Because stories like this, they don't end. They evolve, just like the cars, just like the men who built them, and just like the fire. It never truly dies. It just finds new roads to travel. So if the story pulled you in, if it made you feel something, the admiration, the tension, the heartbreak behind the chrome and cameras, then don't let it stop here. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Limelight Leaks for more untold chapters of icons and legends. And in the comments, tell us, do you ride with Boyd? Do you roll with Foose? Or do you stand in the middle where the spark still lives? Because whether you favor the old school or the new wave, you're part of this legacy, too, and it's still being written, one engine at a time.